Okay, so I've got 2 hours to make this happen. I'm not going to pick any colours, I'll just estimate as much as possible. Alright, so start with a kind of bluish tone here and a dark blue. Don't want to go too saturated, let's keep it a bit there. Gradient, mode, normal. Make sure you're using one. Right, that gives me a start, and then basically want to work with the easiest things possible, like the biggest things. And I'll use some standard brushes. A bit darker here. Much more of a kind of green tone there. And it looks like so just I'm trying to imagine that I'll have really blurry vision at this point, and that'll give me a decent start to stuff just for placement. Throw in some colours. See, I can pick this kind of greenish tone, but I don't want to pick colours directly from the photo, so I want to kind of train myself to get as close as possible without that. Get good at picking and get good at making colours from observation. So that is left of halfway. I've made this a bit too big. I'm just using the soft brush right now and building things up. So at 9 AM every Tuesday I want to do these studies. I want to make it feel like a proper school where, yeah, you're super groggy, you've been dragged out of bed at 8 AM to get to school on time, and suddenly you're straight into work. I mean, that's the way the real world is anyway, so I want to get you guys kind of thinking about that. And doing these little studies with me is also pretty cool. This photo reference I think is a copyrighted piece, so you can't resell this work. Just for studies, fine. At least I think it's a copyrighted piece. It looks like one of Liam Wong's photos, and you know, got to respect his time. So I'm just blocking in this. I don't think it's that much area that it's using, so I'm just gradually going to reduce this and figure out how much proportion is this, and the sign in here, it's got a kind of curve to it because we're looking up at it, and then this is much narrower. I'm tempted to make it flat because I know it's writing and I know I want to read it, so sometimes your brain fights with you a bit about what it wants and what it sees. And I'm doing way too much detail here at this point, but I just want to be able to see the shape a bit easier and thinking about where things go, so I'm just scribbling stuff down. And in fact, I could really just have drawn the whole thing that way to start with. Sorry for the short notice, guys. You'll probably literally woke up and be like, oh, Rob's doing an art thing. Who told us about this? And I basically didn't tell anyone about it. I just spontaneously, just call me Spontaneous Bob, because I get ideas and I go with them and see how much they'll stick. And this one I want to make stick because I want to get good at this kind of stuff as well. So I'm using that dark tone. You see the dark of this against the light blue, so I want to make sure that comes in. I'm probably going like backwards about how to paint this, to be honest. There's a lot of things I'm doing back to front. Right, just trying to get that building right. I'm making everything probably bigger than it should be, bigger than it is, and making a few accidents. So I'm gonna work out, so if that's halfway, run a bit there, quarter of the way, halfway, quarter of the way, then that bridge sort of comes in here. I just want to knock that in there. Should probably start knocking in some clues of where everything is. This bit goes much further out. It kind of goes to halfway there and then goes further down, so it's more shaped like that. But yeah, I don't have to go with what I've done completely. I can just draw over this and forget about it and not worry that it has to be, you know, all said and done and final, because I can always make the changes. Now something like this strip I should really leave to later because it's going to get in the way of all the work I'm going to do here, so I should really focus on the more background-ish things, because this building's overlapping that one and this, so if I get those right, I won't have to worry too much. Now it's going into kind of purplish blue. If you notice that there, it's not quite the greenish blue of this. It's kind of making its way towards kind of lilac, almost, not as much as that, but it's got hints of it, so I'll just paint those in a bit. And I don't have to be too accurate or final with all this just yet. Just want a few bits there. I'm blurring my vision a bit as well, just so that I can kind of mimic what I see with my blurred eyes. Something like that. There's some bits up here. And there's a bit of perspective in this building as well. I mean, I've gone a bit too high. I only have, what's that, an hour and 10 minutes left, so the time goes really quickly. You'll find 2 hours just might not cut it for getting the result that you want, but it's more than enough to get results. If you spend 10 minutes on something like this, it's not going to look good. It's good to time yourself, give yourself an allocated amount of time on something. Make sure it's adequate, because if you're only saying half an hour, you're not going to get much done at all and you're stressed. You do that for anything though. It doesn't have to be artwork, it could be project, 10,000 hours on a project. You should learn a lot from 10,000 hours worth. So that's there, there's a few little buildings in the foreground of that. So I'm just playing with the opacity basically and using the most basic brushes. I've posted a video of a guy who paints with texture brushes and paints with the standard brushes, and you can see the kind of results that he gets. At the end of the day, you can start the whole painting with standard brushes, then bring in your textures later, which I've seen myself do a few times. I'm just trying to stick in with perspective, so the gaps are getting slightly narrower as they go back. Distance and the distance there, and yeah, I'll do something similar in the foreground. Let's get a bit of this edge defined, so there's a kind of dark patch runs down there. Let's just do it in gradients. So I'm making the brush slightly smaller, then going over that right hand side a bit more until that's darkened, and then I'll just neat up the edge a bit as well. Okay, back to a soft brush. Just going to pick some tones and get that kind of gradient in there. And that will be this dark side of the building. We've got some of this colour coming through here, a little bit of this sort of tone coming in. I think it's much more bluey greeny, yeah, a bit like that, a bit more vibrant. It's a good idea to make a copy of your image or have the navigator up so you can see a little preview. I'm just going to bring that up there. And you might think to yourself, I can't get this to work, it's not working for me. It's only because you've not let it grow enough yet. It doesn't look right until it's matured, kind of mutated into this form that it's supposed to be. So I'm going for that kind of metallic blue bottom bit there. That bit's quite dark. I'm going to darken that a bit more. That's just right off halfway. We're going to put in the train just for a point of reference. Let's do a slightly harder brush. Go for a grey blue. I don't want it to be too bright. The whitest thing here is these lights. So the only time I use white is for those tiny little flecks here. A little bit on the top. Not really much white anywhere else. So it's all quite a dark palette. Okay, so get this train in. Now I'm going to end up making it bigger than it is. I need a good point of reference, so halfway. I just need a mark to show me where that bridge comes in. So with that bit there, down a bit, there's something round about here. Right, so I'll just put that in like that. That's that bridge. There's a line goes down here. And then this train, see, now I can see how much smaller that is. So I'm just gonna be very loose with all this. I don't want to be too fussed about if I'm accurate with everything. I'll get it as close as possible. So I'll just block in this train here. Just gonna do that as to a bit there. Actually goes a bit longer. So yeah, I don't mean to get you guys out of bed early on a Tuesday morning or anything like that. You can watch this later and, you know, make your version of it. Just love to see what you guys make. I'll record the full video so you get to hear how tired I am for one, and still manage. It's not that difficult. Right, that's that bit. There's a kind of window or something here. So you might think to yourself, well, that looks pretty good so far. But I know how much work I've put into it. I've put only 20 minutes in, and for me that's not enough. So it's nowhere near where it should be. I like this roof. Right. Again, I'm not going to pick any colours from the reference. I just want to draw as much as I can. Probably a bit too much detail here, but I can always redo these later. I just want to get a feel for this roof. The way the kind of perspective starts to be, you see more of the side over here, you see a little bit more of the front there because the way the position the photo was taken from. And if you remember from one of the lessons when we do perspective, you know, you see something more side on as it goes away from your eye, so you get the kind of vanishing point kind of coming across like that way, and eventually it ends up kind of front on somewhere, and then the vanishing point sits here somewhere. For me it's round about here, but all these buildings, they've all got their own kind of perspective down to this other very distant vanishing point because of the way the street's going. Just going to make that quite dim. Now that is, the dude's like bang on centre, and so there's two buildings. That's what I'm trying to do actually, is get this building in, and then there's a kind of strip down that building with the lights in it. Kind of looks like a stairwell, and then there's this guy sort of standing almost centre. It looks bang on centre actually, but the way I've got him, he's not so much. But it doesn't matter. Let's get it as close as I can get it. Trace his silhouette a bit. You can only see that bit of his arm, so it's good to not to make any assumptions about what you think he's doing. Like, don't like have him like that, the bag way out there, because you know he's holding the bag, and you want to make it look like he's holding the bag. Well, he already looks like he's holding the bag. You just have to draw what you see. I've done him too big. So his head is kind of there. Shoulders. That. Back. And yeah, that really kind of puts him into the foreground, but you see a little bit. And I can always add a bit of lighting to him later. It looks like he's obviously holding something, looking at his mobile phone. So yeah, just need to get that kind of position right. Once the lighting is in there, that'll look better. And then this would be the platform. Something like that. I'm going to go for kind of lightish green. I want to start bringing in some tones to this. Use whatever technique works for you for making these things happen. You don't have to use any particular method. Me, I'm just working as basic as possible, sticking to the same brush, using opacity, grabbing the colour that's there, putting the opacity back up, and then yeah, just kind of going with that. You know, trying to get these colours in, so low opacity and bring those in. Much more blue happening in these. You guys could definitely do better than me. Use 2D artist types. Right, I'm going to use a little bit of smudge just to get a nicer gradient between these. So I'm just going up and down until that blends. Don't want to set it too high, about 80%. Ugh. Maybe again the soft brush is better for that. Yeah. It will be slow if you've got a big document size. It's trying to blend all these pixels in real time. The best method to use is a soft brush. Pick something there and go for about 30% opacity. And pick what's there and blend over it. Pick what's there, blend over it. That, for me, is faster than trying to smudge, to be honest. Turn off that size, change this pressure. Still looks a lot bluer there, so I'll just go over it with a nice bluish tone. I can always fix my guy up later, but at least he's there. And I'm just bringing a tiny bit at the bottom. Okay, that's that. Now it doesn't look great yet until I start to add these lines, but that's all a detail pass. A lot of that will be done after. And you're looking for things that help set things off like that. Bringing that into the foreground really helped me see things a bit better. So that's the way to go if you're kind of struggling a bit, is just find something that you know is going to help it. And I'm looking at these tones and thinking that's not grey, it's bluey grey, because the way the photo's been processed, which gives it that character. I just want to make sure I've got some of these tones in the background. That is quite a bright tone. A couple of ways I could do this. I could just draw the whole shape in and then later do the lines. It's probably easier. Right. But it's taking shape here. It's starting to read quite nicely. I can see that this part is a bit off, but yeah, I can always come back and make a few adjustments if I don't feel too happy about it right now. I'll just fix the bits that are making my eyes hurt. I don't have to worry about all the detail in here yet. I can just give a kind of suggestion like that, just some suggestions of what's there. A little bit of red in there, because later I'll come back and I'll make it better. It's not as pure red as that, so you need to watch that. You don't just go for the easiest colour. Try and make an assumption that the colour's lost its light. It's got a bit softer, it's mixed with some other colours, and it's not as pushed right in your face, you know. That is one thing that a lot of people do, is they push things too much to start with and don't realise how much it actually invades a little bit. Okay, so that should do that bit for now. I can always come back and do a bit more work with that. Nice little kind of gradient there. Right, so that's already looking a bit better. You know, come back and define that a bit more later. There's also a nice kind of rim light sort of hitting the top there. Whatever light source that is, something bouncing off, maybe from here, bouncing off the ground and bouncing back up here again. Or there's another light source somewhere. Okay, starting to see a few other things like these perspective lines. So I'm going to go quite angular here, because I really want to make sure that I've got room to make the angle lower here. So up here I'm really kind of pushing it like that, and then down here it'll be more like this, because as we get to eye level, but this is further away, it's not going to be like that at eye level because that would bring it too close to us. It's still going to be a bit of an angle, as you can see here. Still a bit of an angle there, but up here that's really quite more than 45 degrees. So I'll just do some lines like that. See this one maybe a bit higher. Don't want to make it change too fast either. Just a subtle amount. And there's a tangent I need to watch. I don't try and match things around. I don't really see it there. It's a bit higher. So I'm going to actually draw that one in first so I don't get that tangent. I'll just use that distance actually and put that one there. A bit higher. One a bit here. About here. And one in the middle. Right. That's cool. It's good enough for me to work with. So 88 minutes left. Time goes fast when you're having fun. So this artwork, well, this photograph's by a guy called Wong, a really nice guy who I met before about 10 years ago, and that was before he art directed for Ubisoft. At least I think he art directed, he did some art role there, and this guy, he basically nominated our game for best art, and it was a game jam. It wasn't like some kind of BAFTA or something like that, but it did feel like that at the time, it being my first game and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. Right, let's see, let's add in this. I believe when it goes down somewhere. I'm not too fussed about it being accurate. I just want to capture the mood. I really need to capture the mood. Okay, and I guess maybe a bit more height to it there. So I'm just picking colours locally, and I'm not picking the colours from the photograph. I'm just trying to like guess at them until I find a colour that I think works. And if it's not right first time, I can just, eventually my eye will tell me that it's wrong later, and then I can go back and fix it. There's no harm in that, it just takes a bit more time. Just put that line in there just to get an idea. A big massive blue sign on the side. And there's that green strip as well, so it's not like pure green, it's like kind of bluish green, like there somewhere. And I'm just making sure I don't have the size change or opacity change by pressure. Make sure they're unchecked, and I can use the pressure directly using the number keys at the top. So if I press 1, that's 10%. If I press 8, that's 80%. If I press 9, that's 90%. If I press 0, it resets to 100. This one's a bit wider than this, but I think this one here had more room, so I'm just going to crop that there. And I'll just move that shadow here. I'll just start kind of copy and trace that across. It seems lazy, but it's not. It actually takes longer to do this. And it's fine, it's just like real paint almost. There's no other way that I could have done that, to be honest. Right, that's a bit better there, and then I could get the size of this a bit nicer. A lot of this I can fix up later with some texture work and detailing. Right, I just want to fix that there. What's this line? No idea what that is. There's a kind of tone goes by here, the background. And then this sort of tone. And it goes into that window. We should see a bit of that. Not everything's a gradient, there's a lot of kind of flat tones as well. I'm just going to make sure this is all kind of just a similar tone. And just a tiny bit darker. I'm just playing with that opacity value just to blend over the area to make it more like a gradient. Right, it's a wee bit too pasty right now. You know, I could use more tones, even if I don't see these tones, like a kind of purpley sort of vibrancy to it. I'm going to really push the, to make sure I get that. It's not purple, it's kind of like fighting between purple and bluey, greeny. It's really difficult to get that tone right. Fancy stuff he does with his photos. Right, and then there's one kind of up here. Tiny bit of perspective to it, so it goes down a little bit. And then there's one kind of here. Well, all of this is actually the same size, isn't it? So that distance to there, it might have a bit less, so it's a bit more like that. That distance, and then it kind of skips that distance, and then it'd be this one, and then this one. A slight bit more perspective to it. I'm just taking my time with this one, because if I get this right now, it will kind of help the piece start to look good. I'm not using any tricks with layers or nothing. I'm making it as straightforward as possible. So I like to use a soft brush to blend between areas. And I can really see this area is much brighter than anything else, a bit more vibrant as well, so I'm going to push a kind of bluey tone in here. So it must be reflecting something down here, maybe like that sign there is really kind of bouncing a lot of light around. Just above, not as high as that, just above this rooftop, which I've kind of knocked into place. Just want a few hints of that. I should really save my work. I've not saved yet, so I'll just save this as, in fact, let's make a new place for all this. I'm using something called pure ref here, that's why that's floating above. And I'm also using the timer bar, which you can move up and down the arrow keys. Just to get that out of the way. Let's do new folder. Stupid thing doesn't register right until the second time round. Let's see, so we'll call this Tuesday 9 AM studies. Study 1. This is a Liam Wong, Tokyo. Okay, it's important to credit people whose reference you've used, just in case, you know, later down the line someone accuses you of stealing or something nonsense like that. You can basically be honest and say, you know, you're not selling this work. Just don't put it anywhere public. You know, keep these kind of things private for your own sort of reference. That way, if someone was to steal it, you know, it doesn't really come back to you, because it does happen. All right, I'm going to draw these lines in. Oh, I was lucky to sort of hit that line. It's just really a suggestion anyway of where these lines are. They don't need to be perfect. I do wish that line was a bit better in the middle there though. I'll make the adjustment now. I could have done that first, but it's always great having hindsight, because that's how you learn, like, you know, what bit you would have done first and second and last, and so that's actually there like that, and then this bit takes up more area because it needs to be the same. Be very meticulous about this building at the side. I just want it to look right. The OCD is a blessing and a curse. Right, that's good enough for that bit in my mind. Could have done it better, but maybe I'll come back to it first time. And then the lines going the other way, so let's actually start with the lines. So there's a little kind of groove there. I'm going to make that kind of little curve, just maybe less so as it goes up, but it's definitely there like that, a little kind of curve to the profile. And then this goes straight down here, maybe, yeah, needs to be in line with this. That looks fine. It is actually in line with all the stuff happening there, but I quite like it being offset. That's my excuse. I like it. I like it like that. Yeah. Which means, in other words, I've done it wrong, but I'm happy with it. I've done it wrong, but I don't care. I've done it now. It's too late. So somewhere over here is that the line that I made, and then I've got the windows here. Right, and then a little bit darker because it's hard to see these. It's good that I'm keeping to that dark range, but it's just getting a bit too difficult to see anything. So what's that, an hour and 15 minutes to go, so I've given myself loads of time. Really love this vibrant blue coming off here. I want to kind of put that a lot more in the hard crisp lines made by the edges and things. It's going to be hard to bring those in. I just need to make that work somehow. And I'm seeing the underside of this overpass. I need to put these lights in, otherwise it's looking a bit flat right now until I see the underside of it, which has got the lights there. But I guess it will have a kind of dark base. It's going to have a kind of dark base to it, like that. Let's make it not as soft. Right, then I can just come over with these again. In fact, these actually sit somewhere in the middle. So actually that gets cut out. And then you see a little bit there, and there's a little bit there. And then we could go for that whitish tone. I just want to block these in roughly where they are. So there's a light there. I love that light right above him. It's really cool. I think he's taking that shot really nicely. You get that, the light sort of falling on his head and a little bit on his shoulders. Not as bright as that, but we'll clean the snow off him in a minute. And this one just left of that carriage. Right, so it gives us an idea. And I could get that kind of bloom effect as well here, but I'd likely do that in the end because I want to finish some detail work. But basically soft brush, biggish, yeah, and then you got a kind of neon bloom, and go a bit smaller and go over it again, and a bit smaller again and go over it again. And you can always go back to your white tone and then kind of just bring that in stages. A little bit less opacity, play about with the size and add just a little bit more. And you got that kind of instant bloom effect. You can grab some of this colour actually and help sort of get rid of that. It's got a little bit of detail there, and then I can paint that back out. You can see his collar's catching the light. See, as soon as I put the collar in, notice how he's looking over there right now, but as soon as I put the collar in, as soon as I put that kind of collar in like that, already his head's looking down. You know why that is because that collar's now catching the light because his head's tilted forward. So something as simple as that, just, you know, these are the kind of things that you learn subconsciously and go, you know, if I add a bit of light there, it's going to tilt the head forward. You know, if I make it so that you only see a bit of the jacket there, all the legs are in shadow, but maybe a little bit of the legs catch the light at the back, that puts his leg further back the way. This one's forward, we don't really see his feet, and so on. You know, there's all these little details and things. It's going to bring in the ground a bit better there. It's kind of turquoisey tone here. It's a bit more blue actually. Actually. Right, and I can highlight some of these train edges right now. So I'm probably jumping the gun a bit doing these kind of changes right now, but I think I just want to get them done. So this sign here is part of a building sitting here, and it's coming off the side of it, and I've only briefly started that building, so I'm going to deal with that first. Very simple building, just a few window shapes. There's a tiny little bit catching the light there, which would be good to have because that's what for me sets it off. Just make sure I've got my angles nice and clean, and I'm just going to put a tiny little light like there, like that, and that kind of works. And then we just see the sort of neon sign there in the background, all the way down. That. And a tiny bit of kind of writing on it, which is really kind of faint. And even has a kind of bluish tone because the light's so powerful, it's kind of bleeding over it. So something like that will do for now. There's a little kind of line cuts through it there. Just need to make sure it's part of the actual sign and not something else in the foreground, but something like that. That can also have a little bit of bloom, so I'll just paint over it with a soft brush. And now instead of painting over it and it actually killing everything, you can change your brush to add, and that way it won't kill it so much. It actually works a bit better there. Right, and you could do the same with these if you wanted, and there's also a bit of kind of glare kind of in front like that. Right, getting ahead of myself again, but I'll come back to these. I just want to show you some techniques nice and early, and I'm kind of away from a lot of the chaos right now, so let's go back up to these windows. So I was up here somewhere with a hardish brush and putting these lines in for the windows. Go back to normal mode, full opacity, nice and dark. I can see one there, it's really hard to see. I'm just going to do a little screenshot for you guys that are watching or not watching and you want to see where I'm at. Right. Cool. I'm quite happy with the way this has turned out so far now. I'm starting to see things that are wrong as well, because when a funny thing happens when you post your work, you realise how many things are wrong with it. It's a psychological thing that you want people to see your work, right? You want people to kind of reward you for all that hard work you've done, and you just want to kind of feel something back. But little do you know is what the thing you want to feed back is the thing you want to get back is feedback, right? It's weird because you're thinking, I'm going to post my work now, I think it's pretty much finished, I don't expect anyone to even care, and then boom, something happens in your brain and it'll be like, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong, wait, I'm just going to recall it, and then too late, someone's gave you feedback on it and said the same thing, you're like, but that's exactly what I know is wrong with it, don't tell me. So you need to have a little bit of the ability to look away and come back to something and make the changes, or if you do post something, be prepared for feedback, whether it's your own mind telling you need to change something, or someone else telling you need to change something. It's probably better coming from you at first, so you can make the initial changes, because you don't want them to shoot you down about absolutely everything. You don't mind feedback, right? Nobody minds a bit of feedback. They just don't want to be completely shot down and be like, yeah, I knew that one, I knew it, damn it. I'm just making little marks for this sign, and it's not quite as vibrant as I have it, so I'm just going to go a little bit lower opacity and a dark colour and just sort of kill some of that off, get some nice rounded shapes at the top and kind of mimic that a bit better. It doesn't have to be one-to-one, it just has to be close. Same with all these colours and things, right? I really like trying to introduce colour that's not there and then take it away if I'm wrong. So like bringing in this purple, I can see a tiny bit of purple there. It's really minute, but I'm going to bring it in a bit more than it is, just to help add a bit more palette to this whole piece. So I'll just do that, and later I want the lines. Right, there's a couple of lines down here. I want to jump around because I like to kind of free my mind up from what I'm working on now and again, and just be like, I'll take a break from that, I'll move around a bit, do something else, this bit's interesting, I'll work on this bit, and so on, just, you know, keeping it kind of fresh and fun. There's a bit of colour in here, but it's not strong, so I just want to find a tone that works and kind of use a tiny bit of gradient. It's kind of darker at the top, also has a shape that comes out somewhere around about here, but maybe I'll push it back there, pull that back up to there, and there's a little line here. It gives me that shape, and then there's some lights, and like, you might think to yourself, that window frame's white, therefore I'm going to put bright white in, right? That's a no-no. It's not white in this scene, because it's only white if it's in a lit room when it's been manufactured. Probably it's got a lot of paint and dirt and things on it, but it's almost the same colour as that, because of all the bounce light, and we don't even know what colour this building is because of all the bounce light. We're just making assumptions that building is a purpley green dark tone and the window frame's white, therefore it should be different, but it's literally not different. It's actually just looking the same. I don't know how I'm going to fit these two windows in. Another thing I've not done, I've not bothered to zoom in or anything like that. I don't want to go into any sort of micro detail with this piece. I'm just going to add a tiny bit more light to that. I just want to make this process look as simple as possible. Oops. A few little kind of hints of curtains or something there. Cool, and make that more narrow. And the other window come in a bit earlier. Too strong. Go a bit less opacity with that. Sometimes I'm just trying to suggest what a building's doing. I don't have to make it one-to-one accurate. And as we get into the distance here, we don't need as much accuracy with anything. It just needs to be kind of subtle hints of what's going on. It's a kind of squarish dark shape here. I want to get a nice tone, full opacity, hard brush. I just want to make that square shape. No idea what it is, might be a sign or the back of a sign or something, but it's there. And let's finish this sky up. Make it a tiny bit lighter. Pick a colour, more opacity, and go over it. Soft brush. So I've used a single brush for everything so far, just like that tutorial that I shared. That's what actually got me inspired this morning. Like, I've never really done a proper study and tried everything with a single brush, but it's a good challenge. It's looking pretty decent so far. I just want to add that little cap up there. The perspective's also a bit stronger. Again, hard brush. I've made these lines too thick, so I'll grab black and thin them up a good bit in between. And then I'm gonna make that top part. The angle of this is so dramatic, so I'm gonna really push that. I need to complement the perspective a lot more. Like this angle here is like this, but this is like that, and that for me is playing games with my eyes. So I really need to kind of push this up here and sort of come down a bit there, like that, just to make a kind of change. And push some of these tones down and some of the brighter bits up. Yeah, just getting that a bit more angular, and then same with this part here. I want to make that shoot up to the sky. I'm going to bring all this up, way up here. More drama. Make this taller. I'm making some modifications for sure here, but I just want it to look better than the way I'm making it, so I'm just pushing some things. If I was making this again from scratch, I'd probably do a good bit of line work to start with to work out where everything's going to go, because I immediately just started blocking in the big buildings. I guess it's fine if you've got a lot of big shapes already there, but if it's very organic, then I think you do need a bit more planning with it. that's somewhat better. And then I want to do these bits quite clean. Really hard to stay clean with opacity and things like that all going on. If in doubt, just suggest the shapes, you know, you don't have to draw perfect lines everywhere, you're just suggesting it. So this bit being a little bit out of view and stuff. Oh, see, out of view, it's one of the brightest things that catches your attention, that right angle plus the contrast, so I need to be careful that I get it kind of rightish. So I'm going to go for a soft brush, get a bluish tone, change this to add. I just want to like add a little bit of bloom effect up there. There's a little kind of something happens kind of here. Getting into details now, so I'll just capitalise on a few bits that need a bit of detail. And some sort of little bits here. Still in additive mode, but that's fine, it works for now. What else I've got? Okay, that's foreground. I need to put these windows in. I'll go back to normal. Let's just get a colour that works. So these happen just above those lines like that. So there's one there, one there, one there, one there, and they're all kind of like the same kind of light. Get a little bit faint as they got maybe, but yeah, like that. Let's get a brush that's big enough. I'm just going to kind of go over those. And I'm not using any selection tricks or masking. I'm just treating it like it's paint. I'm not even zooming in. I'm just trying to keep all of this as straightforward as possible. Just introducing a bit of colour here and there because you can really see it kind of changing colour as it goes up, get more bluish. And that might be part of the filter that the photographer used. And I guess there would be one down here somewhere. Yeah, there's one there, so there's going to be one. If there was another line like there somewhere, there's going to be another window somewhere here. I'll just throw it in for good measure. Even though it's not actually there, it needs to be there because your eye's seeing a pattern, and yeah, it just needs to be something like that. That really helps that building look more complete. It just needs some windows on the side. So there's definitely one down here. Let's just block that in with a little bit of opacity first. Kind of in line with his head, a bit like that. It's not as far across. Little bits to fix always. There's always little bits needing fixed. where I've just been a bit sloppy, but I can always come back and do a bit more work on these. So there's a kind of vivid light here. I don't know if it's actually reflecting that sign or it's a light inside. It looks, because of this straight line here, it looks like it's reflecting something. Otherwise we would maybe see an angle, I don't know. Either way, there's something bright in there. And there's a really vivid bluey green somewhere there. Yeah, you can really see that. And the rest is like almost pure white. Some little kind of bars, maybe a little menu. Reflection of some city blocks in the background. Could be anything. But we're just drawing exactly how we see it because it just works. It works the way it's supposed to. Right, time wise, just under 50 minutes left. This is going okay. I'm going to save it again because it's been a while since I saved. I think all of this is a bit higher, so I'll do a little poly lasso and I'll just alt drag it up so it's a bit higher. And now I've got that little bit of room back here. And I think it's also a bit taller. But like that, so I'll just pull some of these tones down. I think that's a big block of white there. Something like that. And then there's a kind of line going through there. A few of the vertical lines here. I'll make these really thin because I want them to be kind of lost a little bit. In fact, one there for sure. And like 1, 2, 3 in between. So one there. And then I'll kind of trace these up. Let's go for a dark colour, 50%, change that to multiply so that we don't overwrite the pixels, we're making them darker. Something like that, and this building's also got the same thing, but it's really hard to see. I'll just throw in some, in fact at this time I will use a little bit of layering because it just makes sense. I just want to like throw in some lines because I'm at that stage where it's just getting a bit busy. And I'll do a tiny bit of blur to that. Yeah, that's just gave it enough texture. Yeah, just enough texture. A lot of these windows I could make a bit better by like putting a line down here. It will show that edge, so I'll just merge that down for now, grab a little dark tone and I'll just go from here. Let's make that a bit more, this needs to come in a tiny bit bigger, something like that, and then I'll just sort of cap off the top a bit. We got that kind of window edge look. Just make sure that I don't have it continuing at the bottom because it's losing the effect. Let's go a little brighter green. I'll just help that a bit. One multiply, that's why I'm not getting what I want. Sharpen it up a bit more. Cool. I'm just going to neaten up this edge. And just a few little shapes over the top. Right, cool. There's some windows somewhere here. So let me make that a little bit darker like that. And you can see that the window actually lines up with that little side window there. Lines up like that a bit. So this video was made for the students at LSBU to help them get better at their digital painting, and it's basically up to them if they want to do these kind of studies. I've benefited a lot from watching these kind of streams and tutorials and things, so I definitely recommend this kind of practice. Yeah, it's looking a bit weird because this window should be higher. But more like somewhere about there. And the angle right. Okay, I've made a kind of improv there to make that window work, but again, with better planning I could have done a better job at this, but it's fine. I'm just practicing. Like that. Let's go a little bit less opacity. Your patience might get the better of you now and again, but don't be afraid to redo a bit if it's not working. That's what the undo button's good for. There's a few lights on in one of these. Well, I've gone a bit too low. Yeah, so you see I've kind of made a bit of a boob with positioning and stuff. I'm really struggling to get that to look right. But overall, it will be fine. It will be fine when everything's done. These are just little paint blobs that have too much paint on them, and I need to go back and erase some of the paint off and fix a few bits here and there, and tidy and neaten things up. Right, and then there's like a tiny bit of light coming out one of the windows up here. Again, none of my windows are lining up too well. This is where brushes come in handy, because I could have a brush that already has this slant to it. Right, let's do that. I'll put some window shapes in up here. I'll just be kind of subtle with it. I'm not too fussed at that point because it's quite dark. And same with up here, just a little kind of hint. Just hint at some of those shapes. Right, that's looking cool. We've got this side of this. Is that the side of the building? I see it kind of returns a bit there. I only just saw that now, so there's a bit here. So a little bit beyond here where this actually changes. It's so subtle you wouldn't really see it, but I just want to bring that in because that will really help. I'm just picking and sort of drawing, and I've got a kind of low opacity there, so I just want to help this edge do its job, and it's just basically a line across so that this building tucks back behind this one, kind of making it into two buildings. And it's got this kind of fine line going up the middle of it. Let's make that even fainter. And that works quite nicely. There we go. So we've got these two buildings now. I think this one's just obscured with the light so much. I could, I guess, just help pick it out a bit by doing a little kind of lasso here. I don't often use these lasso effects, but I'm starting to find myself use them more. I just want to really low opacity. Don't go all the way to the edge, and just tap a few times, and it's just help define that edge just at that point there. Right, I think there's a few bits. Whoa, this building is like super low. Oh, there's a whole lot of things on top. That's probably why. There's a few bits up here. Some little kind of shapes and dark spots. There's a kind of shape coming across there. These are very hard shapes. Yes, it's just like a really dull greeny grey tone. What I like to do is just mix on the fly to get the tone that I want, and then pick it, go full opacity, and then just block it in to these little shapes that I see, and then just cut them kind of back out again. There's a few kind of really subtle reflective shapes here. Just gonna like use my imagination to make these work. Something there. And I think that just helps complete that building a bit. This doesn't go as far. And I just want a little soft sort of blemish over that bit. Yeah, just to help push it back. This building can be a bit higher, but you see I've been using this kind of flare effect, so I get a kind of weird colour here, but I think that's okay. Cool. Now we're into kind of the detail phase. I've got half an hour left. It's amazing how the time just flies. So I've done most of the top up here. There's a bit of the logo I could fix. So I'll finish the top off and then I'll go down and fix the bottom area. So what I'm going to do is do this kind of gradient background to start with. So I'll just clear this up a bit. I quite like what I've done there. It's more straight up the edge of the building. I can always fix that here. And just do that. Pick this colour, go very soft brushish, and I'm just going to take some of that away. Something like that. Now I've got a bluish tone. Hard brush, very small. I'm going to sort of draw this shape in. It's much more blue than that. That's not far off, but more saturation. Okay, I'll go with that, and I'll just start kind of draw kind of what I see as much as possible. Come on, can't do this. It keeps joining up. Okay, that's fine, let's do that. Bing, bing. Why does it keep joining up? Bing, bing. And something there. I'll just do a really subtle amount because I want to have a tiny outline to some of these shapes, so I'll just do some blobs like this first. Tiny bit lighter, some bits, and then I'm going to get that red, darkish red, and that's a bit too strong. So we know it's red, we just don't know how vibrant, like how much saturation there is in it or how bright it is, but it's just a case of trying some, and then yeah, just be happy with that. That's cool. Let's fix that bit up to a bit straighter, a bit darker. And then I'm going to pick that colour again, tiny bit brighter, full opacity, and try this Yodobas. Yo do ba, yeah, whatever, that's fine. It's about as good as it's going to get there. There's some sizes that aren't right and all sorts of things I'm seeing now. It's usually what happens when you come away from an area and go back, you see a lot of things wrong, but I think this is looking okay. Cool, there's some little subtle changes down here as well. That's much thinner. There we got the lines here. There's a little kind of a few lines in this bit. Just going to change that back to multiply, very low opacity, and just super low opacity. Just throw in a couple of lines in here just to help finish that off. Back to normal. Just finish that bit there. It's really annoying when there's all these kind of subtle colours. You end up having to smudge a little bit, and I try to avoid smudging as much as possible. It might help in a situation like this, but it also might not. Yeah, I'm just going to undo that. None of that I need. Right. So the only way to do that is to pick the colour, do a tiny bit, pick the colour, do a tiny bit, pick the colour, do a tiny bit, pick the colour, tiny bit, and then half opacity and just kind of blend. Darkish tone back here. There is 27 minutes left. It's not actually too bad. Right, I'm going to start blocking in some of the pipes and stuff. So again, I'm not in the immediate foreground, but I want to be kind of close to the foreground a bit more. I'm going towards grey and getting a bit lighter there. I'll bring on my size and opacity with pressure so I can really control this. So kind of bluey, greeny highlight. I'll deal with the highlights first, and then I'll deal with the pattern second, because it's easier to disguise that. A few dark tones, dark tone up here. Still got a little bit to do with the foreground. Okay, there's a lot of kind of subtleties back here with the background. Some tones maybe coming from like the street lights or something, and these go way down to the edge of that. I wonder who's going to appear here at last minute. Be like, "Hey Rob, just woke up. Come to see your stream." I'm like, Yeah, well, I'm finished. Oh, okay. Bye. That will happen. Wait, see. As if anyone decides to brave it and come to my stream and be like, oh no, Rob's gonna talk crap again. He always talks crap. Yes, that's true. It's gonna tell me I've got homework to do. Good. It's gonna remind me. No, I'm not gonna do it like that. I promise. So adding in all these little subtle details will basically make it look more realistic. So I just need to be patient and gradually add those in. I'm using shift a lot to get straight lines. Make that a little darker. A little more blue as well. Some writing on it, probably the name of the train or something. Could have looked better. There's something there, like a sign or something. And some little kind of marks on it. Okay, I can see something through the windows here. It's very subtle. Actually, assume that you can see through this bit and make some marks. Let's put this little guy's bag in a little bit better. He's got much more of a vibrant blue than I've given him. Why can't I get the blue that I want? Jeez, it's really hard to get colours right. Right, 20 minutes left to get the foreground in. and any little subtleties as well. So I'll just try and finish up this area here, the pipes, any shapes and things. There's a kind of glow behind here. Let's just knock some of that in. This soft brush, it's got a kind of greenish tone to it, not as much as that. Some little subtleties there, I don't want that on. Opacity with pressure is probably fine. Kind of greenish tone there. Cool, we've got a yellow thing here. See, it's really dark yellow, but it's just when the light hits the side of it, you really see it. I find it really hard to get the colours that I want. I think turn that off, let's do 70%. Some little marks here, like that, and then we jump into red. Isn't it kind of bright red as it hits the light? Something there, a bit kind of bluish. Lots of little kind of cables and wires and bits. A bit goes in front of that. There's a little kind of box here, a little kind of highlight at the edge. There's a little kind of mechanisms and boxes and wires and things. Right, as soon as we start bringing all these wires and stuff, it's going to look better. I just want to enhance some of these edges that seem kind of important to catch those. Even if like they're not mathematically perfect or anything like that, I just need a little bit of work. And then a little hint of light in there. Go for a soft brush. Something like that, and then hard brush again, and just finish that bit off. There's a little kind of shadow cast from each of these, so I'll make sure I get a soft brush and do this size tapering and opacity tapering, and just can pull down a little shadow. "15 minutes left. 2 hours has gone fast. Started at 9, it's almost 11, and I've not even like finished everything yet. I've got this poster to do in the train, so hard brush, and I still got all this foreground to do and all the bits. God, I really need to hurry up. This isn't easy actually. 2 hours. 2 hours is not enough, but you can take as long as you want to take. You can take all day if I get a good result from me, I'm happy. Come on. Just do it. Take on a challenge for once in your life. Find a good piece of concept art that you like. If this doesn't suit you, a good photo reference, I mean, not concept art, it's different. Find a good photo reference and see what you can do. Come on, what's it doing? Barely even finished. Yeah, time goes really quickly. Really quickly. It's a little kind of wing mirror or something there. I don't know what that is, but put that in there. Right, that's that. Let's do the foreground, and that's pretty much it. So we'll go for black. Take off the size tapering, full opacity, hard brush. I'm just going to throw in some of these lines as one goes across here. It's a bit too straight. A bit like that. A little bit smaller. Be smaller. Not as small. Smaller than that. Okay. There's some ones in the background here. Oops. Goes to the head. Oops. So in fact there's one at the top. Let's cross that. And across there. There's a really skinny one. Loads of these actually. Some of them kind of dangle a bit like cables. At this point I just want to get them in because there's like just about 10 minutes left or something. That's one. Hits the shoulder. Let's go from the shoulder that way. And then another one kind of towards the head. These lines are too wonky. Let's just go all the way like to the side. I'll just fix this bit like that. Okay, that's fine. There's a little kind of, do you know what that might be? That's makes sense. It's a little kind of glass railing at the other side. You can kind of see it somewhere there as well. It's got like a little bit of sheen to it, and a tiny little sheen effect, just for effect. Okay, and I'm going to work in a new layer just so that I can be a bit faster. So it's the only time I've used another layer. I just want to be able to clip mask this. Okay, and then down. and one kind of there. There-ish. And got like 3 bars going across, one over here, one here. Oh. More even than that. That's good. Right, and then come back here and do a little bit of subtle noise and duck and things. Just choose some random colours for now. I'll always come back to those. There's a bit of this, a bit of that, and I could really use some custom brushes for this, so let's see what I've got. Let's see if there's some detailed texture. Yeah, that will work. Let's make that kind of biggish. There's some other stuff here and why that's turning that colour. But yeah, I just need some subtle marks, and got 8 minutes left. Just texture this up. Get dark textures here. Some blues and interesting tints and tones and stuff. Some dark browns. Why they're not turning out as dark as it's like a really weird colour coming through, unless I'm just losing my ability to pick colours. 7 minutes left. I must say I've not done too bad with it. I think it's kind of working. Where did that colour come from? I think maybe because it's screen recording or something, it's messing up. Right, I'm going to go to this one and lock the pixels so that I can put in some subtle highlights into this. Come on, it's not really doing it right. It's giving me weird results. It's better. That is pretty much that. So 5 minutes left. What can I fix up? Let's see. Okay, I'll do a little kind of blooming things. So I'll turn this to overlay, and if I paint in a kind of lightish tone, I should get a few nice things happening here. Should do. Why it's bit crap in responding, but there, some bits here. do another one. Let's do additive. Yeah, let's add some little detail bits. A little bit of texture. Let's go for a really textury texture. Do another one, change that to multiply, go for a dark tone. I'm going to really darken some bits here actually. For some reason this brush likes to go bright. See if I can brighten some of this up. Cool. Yeah, I'm just going to merge all the layers and stretch it up a little bit and move it down. Get something a bit more cinematic. Let's see, duplicate, 2 minutes left, just levels adjust, see what colours I need to push. I'll add a mask, invert the mask, and then I'll paint with a soft brush in the mask. Good size to that. Painting normal, and I can choose which areas to enhance. You can see I'm enhancing some of the tones here. Merge visible, I will duplicate and just going to levels things down like this. Control U to saturate a bit more, and again add a mask, invert it, and then choose where I want to sort of darken some areas. Make sure I've got these both switched off actually, so I want to do it as a soft brush. And it kind of makes it kind of saturated vignette. It can be a bit nicer. Then the normal one, I'm just going to merge visible and go back to hard brush, small, decent opacity. I just want to fix these trousers a little bit. And 5 seconds left, and that's it. So that's that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Full process of basically trying to get as close to this as possible. I think that turned out pretty good. Let's see, I can't exactly just copy and paste this. get rid of that. Image size. Just neighbor bilinear. Let's go for 2400. Keep your resolution 2400. Maybe 1800. Just want to get it under 8 meg, so 2000. That's good. And that's the end of the streaming Rob's Room. I'll upload this and hopefully you guys can learn a little bit from it. Catch you